I'm a dire Chiefs and Cyclones fan. This former Cyclones defensive tackle had an elite nickname. My name's DJ Caldwell. Welcome back to Cyclone Kingdom. The top 5 list rolls over to defense as we complete the offensive side of the football. Shout out to all the offensive linemen for Iowa State. It's tough to track those metrics and to really put a top 5 offensive line list together. So we see you, we understand you, we appreciate you as a former Cyclone if you're an offensive lineman. Similar to what we said about the Chiefs offensive linemen, but we were rolling on to defense. Defensive line. What do we say about some of the most big cake dudes in Cyclone football history? There's some fun ones on this list. There's one guy that was one of my favorite vibe guys in Cyclone football history. So we're looking forward to going through all of this. We got a couple more top 5s to finish out defense. Then we'll go to return specialists and finish out with coaches right before we go into season previews and all those things. So the 2026-27 Cyclone football season, the first in the Jimmy Rodgers era. So make sure you like and subscribe for all Chiefs and Cyclones content. Number 5, in defensive tackle history in Cyclone football. So we'll do a defensive tackle video, and we'll also do a defensive end video. So if you check this out over on Cyclone Central, our exclusive Iowa State podcast over there, we just did a top 5 defensive line. I'm doing top 5 defensive tackles and top 5 defensive ends because they both deserve respect at their respective positions. And number 5 on the list is my vibes guy. He's the guy that if you think of Cyclone football in 2015 and 2016, this guy brought the juice each and every game. Damon Tucker. He's got an elite name. He's got an awesome name. And he was just a football guy coming over from JUCO, part of the Paul Rhodes era. Really came in and was a part of the beginning of the Matt Campbell era, but was never given the respect that he really deserved. He was the Big 12 newcomer of the year in 2015, guys. The newcomer of the year. And like I said, just the way that he brought Cyclone football along with him, along for the party. I mean, he brought the juice every single game. And Jack Trice was his home. Jack Trice was his stage. A lot of Cyclone fans love him. A lot of Cyclone fans have also forgotten about him. So Damon Tucker, I want to give you a shout out. Defensive tackle is a tough position group to really identify and be able to think about all these great guys, even though we got some great ones on the list. But Damon Tucker, in my mind, deserves me on the top 5 list simply because of the vibes and the humor and all the fun stuff that he brought along with him, even when Cyclone football wasn't good yet. So shout out to Damon Tucker, my man. Number 4 on the list. Part of a guy who was a part of the Dan McCarney era, right before Seneca Wallace came into the picture. So a guy that people probably remember if you grew up watching the Cyclones in the 80s and the 90s. I was born right around this time, right around the time this guy played, so I don't remember him too well, but he ended up going to the NFL as well. James Reed. James Reed is number 4 on the list because of what he brought to the era of Cyclone football that it was. Similar to Damon Tucker, the era of Cyclone football wasn't great. When James Reed was playing with Dan McCarney in the 1997, 98, 99 season, Iowa State football was on the rise. Seneca Wallace ultimately took him to new heights in ways that we had never seen before. And then Brock Purdy said, let me one-up you, and took him to a Big 12 championship and Fiesta Bowl and all this different stuff. But James Reed was an elite defensive lineman, a superstar defensive lineman, a defensive tackle who ended up going into the draft and playing for multiple years in the NFL. So James Reed, in my mind, deserves to be on this list. Again, didn't grow up watching him, but as I did more research on these 80s and 90s Cyclone teams, James Reed has to be a part of the conversation as one of the best defensive tackles in Cyclone football history. Number 3 on the list, these are some guys that you're going to become very familiar with now. Some guys that I grew up watching as a Cyclone fan, was in college during a lot of these guys' tenure at Iowa State. So number 3 on the list is a guy who's currently playing in the NFL, has made himself kind of a nice little niche in the NFL with his skill set. Ioma Uwazurike. I mean, he, in my mind, in those Matt Campbell defenses, those John Haycock defenses, with Will McDonald and Jaquan Bailey, Ioma Uwazurike, I love Uwazurike. And because of what he brought to Cyclone football, what he did in the trenches, right? We're about to talk about a guy that was a dominant run stuffer for Cyclone football. And so Uwazurike and what he brought to those 2017, 2018, 2019 Cyclone football teams, we obviously think about all the superstars and the Breece Halls and the Brock Purdy's and the Xavier Hutchinsons and the Charlie Kohlers. We think about all those guys, right? Uwazurike doesn't get much love because he was just in the trenches doing the dirty work, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But what he did is he helped create this identity of the 3-3-5 defense. The identity that was created because of what he brought to that defense. It was a 3-3-5. So when you're in the middle there, there's a lot on your plate. And the fact that he was able, with his height and his size, to be able to stop the run, he deserves to be top 3. He deserves to be in the conversation as one of the best defensive linemen ever at Iowa State. Simply because of what he's done in the NFL since then, too. He plays for the Broncos, not going to hold it against him. But Uwazurike was awesome. And he's a guy that we need to talk about more when we're talking about those great Cyclone football teams years from now. Right? When we talk about the 2024 team, the 2017 team, the 2020 team, Uwazurike is part of that conversation. So he's number 3 on the list. Number 2, might be some recency bias. I don't think it is, because from a talent standpoint, with how much he weighed, the fact he's able to move that quickly, proved his NFL talent and his NFL worth to getting drafted by the Minnesota Vikings this past draft. Dominique Orange, Big Citrus. One of the best nicknames in college football, one of the best nicknames in Cyclone football history, and one of the best defensive linemen to ever walk across Iowa State's football field. He brought the boom every time he played a game. And the 3-3-5 that we just talked about with Uwazurike, Dominique Orange leveled that up and said, you go to work on the outside, whoever's the defensive ends, I got the middle. And I'll take on 2-3 linemen and take up that run. I will, by myself, get to the quarterback. As a nose guard, as a defensive tackle, do you know how hard that is in college football? Do you know how hard that is? Dominique Orange, his draft stock rose and rose and rose with every single game he played, especially in 2024. And in 2025, even though the team didn't play well, Dominique Orange, fighting through injuries, playing through different stuff, he was considered a top 10 interior defensive lineman in the country. And it speaks for itself in being drafted in round 3 or round 4, I think he was. He will be the starting nose guard for the Minnesota Vikings this year. That's huge. To be an interior defensive lineman, to be able to move that quickly, to be able to have that get off the ball, to be able to get to the quarterback from the center and guard position, where usually that's where the bread is made and where the beefcakes are, Dominique Orange brought it every single game. And obviously, as a Cyclone fan, you're going to think about the Cyhawk game, this most recent one, in Ames. Dominique Orange and McDonough putting the nail in the coffin of the Iowa Hawkeyes and getting back-to-back sacks to close out the game. He's going to go down in Cyclone lore. He's going to go down in Cyclone history. So I love Big Citrus. I love the NIL shirts that came out about him, of the oranges and everything. I never got to buy one, but I might still have to at some point because he's one of my favorites. And I'm excited to see his NFL journey. There's more and more Cyclones being able to go into the NFL and make a name for themselves. So Dominique Orange is number 2. But nobody, and I mean nobody, tops this guy in terms of defensive linemen, maybe all time. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We talked about on Cyclone Central, if you want to check it out, the top 5 defensive linemen. This guy is number 2, number 3, and there's a good argument for him to be number 1. Brent Big Play Curvy. A little story time for you. In 2005, I was an 8-year-old kid, 7 or 8-year-old kid, going to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event with my dad. And we went to the Iowa State-Colorado football game. You know, I'd gone to the most, one of the more recent Cyhawk games that I don't like to talk about the outcome of in 2019 when College Game Day came and someone ran into Shante Jones and we lost on a muff punt, that 2019 game. I had thought that was my first ever Cyclone football game. No. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I'm like, is there a fever dream of Brent Curvy running a scoop and score back against Colorado in Ames, Iowa at Jack Trice? Yeah, that was Brent Curvy. That was Big Play Curvy running thick sixes back ended up on ESPN, ended up on SportsCenter, which in 2005, when there's no social media and you're the Iowa State Cyclones and aren't very good, that's huge. That's who Brent Big Play Kirby was. And he made play after play after play, had an interception as a defensive tackle. An interception. It's unheard of in the game of college football. And so I have to give him love, have to give him credit. He created a nostalgic memory for me that I don't even remember sometimes because it was such a core moment where it was like, did that really happen or did I dream that? The Jack Trice was shaking. It was so loud. So I appreciate him. I appreciate what he's done for the Cyclone community. He's on a podcast with other Cyclone guys now, which is super fun. So Brent Big Play Kirby, right above Big Citrus. I think there's an argument to be made between 1 and 2, but he's got to be number 1 on my list. Leave a comment down below about where you think guys should be on this top 5 list. Who's too high? Who's too low? Who did I forget about? I'm sure there's some honorable mentions to be made in there. Mike Stensrud, as we talked about on Cyclone Central, that I completely forgot about from the 70s. He obviously deserves to be on this list. He's an honorable mention for me. So leave some comments down below. Like and subscribe for all Chiefs and Cyclones content moving forward. And as always, roll Clones. And how about those Chiefs?